Everyone, in today's video I will be making some winter backgrounds to use on tags, Christmas cards, winter crafts. Here are just a few of the ideas I come up with. You'll be joining me just as I begin making this one here. So this faded jeans colour goes on like butter. I started really heavy at the top and I'm just bringing it down with a little bit less pressure because we're going to blend our next colour into that. So every time I start a new colour, I'm just going to start it quite heavy where it overlaps and then just bring it down a little bit to a fade. I'm bringing it down quite far because that lost shadow is a very light colour and I just want to give it something to work off. Now going in with the lost shadow, I'm going to load up really well because, as I said, it is quite a light colour. I've also got some tissue because I don't want to leave fingerprints. So now we've got near the bottom, I'm just going to use tissue to hold the paper still. To achieve this look here, it was really easy. I just used some water. We're going to spray it at the top and allow it to drip down. And then I always have a tissue on hand to block the water, stop it going too far. And my idea behind this when I was doing it was to make it look almost like snow was coming down, and then we've got like the larger snowflakes here. So the next thing I'm going to do is flick some water onto here. So there's a couple of ways I was doing that. I was using this nozzle really slowly to cause some bigger drips, like that, and then just taking them straight up. What you could do, if you find you haven't got enough, like for example on here I didn't use the darker colour, so if you wanted some lighter blue now to come through, you can just get that lighter blue ink pad and start layering some colour at the top. And we can also, because I think as well on this one I did have some blue at the bottom, we can start blending from the bottom up, going upwards. So I'm going to do some more up here, just where that new ink's been put down. And finally, what I'm going to do is use a paintbrush. I'm going to pop a few sprays onto there. Then just lift that colour. Okay, so you can do as much or as little as this as you like, just to get the desired effect. I just want to do a few more kind of larger drips. It kind of almost gives it that blurry bokeh look. I'm also now going to try it on some photo paper on the glossy side and see what effects I get, if any. Seems a little bit more muted than the others, and I've got more lilac coming through. And finally, I'm going to try the same thing on photo paper. This is 260 GSM resin coated gloss. So we will see what happens. Now, the technique I wanted to happen isn't really happening on this paper, but I have just worked out that if you, this is completely different to what I was attempting, but if you spritz and then wipe while it's wet, you kind of get this effect where the colour lifts back up, which is, you know, I suppose this is all part of experimenting, see what happens. And although it's not what I was going for, this actually is a really interesting winter background in itself. So I love the blues, I love the pinks. Our first background using 3 different types of paper and the little extra as well. The next one I'm going to do is using the spray stain. I've got Stormy Sky, and I'm going to do that on the thicker water paper, the stamping paper and the photo paper again to see what happens. So I'm going to spray straight on. Going to spritz to get some movement in that, and then I'm going to dry it. While that's a little bit damp, I'm going to spray a bit more so we get some more concentrated colour, and which just, you know, it might just spread a little bit from where the water is a tiny bit damp still. Oops, didn't want that to happen. And I'm going to do exactly the same thing with the stamping paper and the photo paper. The stamping paper will be first. So these are the mixed media paper and the stamping paper. I love how the stamping paper's turned out. It's almost kind of got this veined marbly effect to it. Now for the photo paper, what I'm actually going to do is try putting some ink onto here, a bit of water, put that on like that, and let's go back in. Okay, so I'm going to take the water off there. And the next thing I'm going to do is and see if the water on there will just mix with this. And I'm just going to walk away from that and leave that one. The photo paper is looking amazing. I love how that's turned out. On top of these, now I'm going to do some stenciling. I've got a selection of texture paste, distress paste and crackle, and grit paste in translucent, which is really nice because we'll be able to see the colour underneath, and a variety of stencils, which I thought would work well. For good measure, since I have all the messy stuff out, I'm just going to do some white splatter using some gesso. For this next technique, I'm just going to be using photo paper. I have had a go with other types of paper, but you really do get the best results with the photo paper. I have done this technique with stamps, and I have done it with stencils. Both work well, just depending on what look you want. I'm going to take some clear embossing ink, going to go all over my stamp, get it really well covered, and I'm going to stamp it onto the photo paper. Now on my acrylic block, I'm going to put some sprays and some oxides. I've used both and they both work nicely. To begin with, I'll use some of the Stormy Sky spray. I'll spray a little bit on. I found it best to use more water than less. And we just pop that onto there like that. And what I'm hoping will happen is that the embossing ink will make a resist and we'll see that stamped image underneath. So this time we will use some oxides. So I was also thinking that it might be an idea to use lots of smaller stamps to make a background. So I popped them all onto here. What I think I might do next is a similar thing, but just use one of the stamps and stamp a pattern across the paper. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Take care. Bye.